So much of business transactions revolves around technology. Companies pay lots of money for systems like SAP that keeps track of all of their transactions. We're just going to play a little bit in Google Sheets, which is the downgraded version of Microsoft Excel, so everybody can get comfortable with some of this idea. You're going to use this technology in your projects, and you need to be able to understand what is required of you. So we're going to start by doing a journal entry, and then we're going to post that to T accounts, and then we're going to do a trial balance. So you see in front of you a series of transactions, right? They're over here in column Q, and they're in that word form. Then over here, I've already gone ahead and put in the accounts related to those transactions, but I haven't put in the dollar amounts. So how am I going to get the dollar amounts in there without typing them? Well, I can type them, right? I can go over here and see received cash from stockholders and issued shares of stock $30,000, and then I can type 30,000 here, and I can put the credit 30,000 as well. Right? That's okay. There's nothing, no master table, no reference area, nothing that allows me to grab or reference the $30,000. So I can go ahead and type that there. But what if I wanted to not type it? What if I wanted to have, let's say the numbers weren't in my transactions. I wanted to have a grabbable cell. So if you go over here and you look at the transaction here in Q4, you cannot grab the $30,000. It's a number, but it's acting like a word. However, if I go over to my other column and I type $30,000 there, now that's a grabbable cell. That's a number that I can grab. So I'm going to get rid of and delete this 30,000. And I'm going to use that number as my master. And I want the cash to be $30,000. So I put my cursor, I click in the cell where I want the answer to be. I want $30,000 to be in cell L4. And I'm going to type an equal sign. Then I can go over here and I can click on the 30,000 that I put in a cell all by itself so I can grab it. And you can see it's telling me that the answer that'll appear here will be equal R4, which is $30,000. So if I hit enter, that $30,000 now will appear over there. And I also want common stock to be 30,000. So I'm going to repeat that. I'm in the cell N5 where I want my answer to be equal $30,000. Now, what's the value of that? Well, let's say this transaction now is changed, and instead of 30,000, it was 25,000. If I change this number over here to 25,000, my journal entry automatically updates. Okay? So the value of having a master cell, a master table, a master area is that you can make the changes over here. So I can make the changes over here and everything will be automatically updated over here. So let's do that. Let's put this back at 30,000. Now signed a promissory note. I need $11,000. Purchased equipment for 8,000. Paid 1,000 cash. And the balance or 7,000 is on account. So those are the numbers I'm going to use. So let's do this note here. So I'm over in the debit where I want my answer. Click over on the 11,000 and I'm in the credit where I want the answer. Click over 11,000. Now the equipment is 8. The accounts payable is the balance of 7. And the cash is the 1,000. Okay. So over here, This is my master table. I have linked my journal entry to that. So I'm going to quickly fill this out. 50,000, 10,000, balance 40, supplies 1,000, paid the February 3rd invoice. I owe 7, bought more supplies, and bought more supplies. Okay, so all I've done is taken the information from the words and put the numbers here. So then I'm just going to do my linking. So I'm over in my journal entry, equal, the land is 50, the cash I paid was 10, and I signed a note for the balance, 40. My equipment is just one number. Excuse me, that should be supplies. I have to change that. Oh, see, now you get to watch me make an oops. Like that, supplies equal 1,000. It's all on account, equal 1,000. Paid the invoice, 7. Okay, so all I'm doing is just putting my cursor, my active cell where I want the answer to be, and then I'm going over and clicking on where I want my source to be. And as if you do it a few times, the system, Sheets is kind of like, oh, I know what you want to do. So you should have now all of this is your source for your master table. And you have linked, so these are linked or referenced to the master table. Okay. I'm going to pause and then we'll do the T accounts. All right, so now let's do the linking or referencing across tabs. So if you look down here at the bottom, you have a journal entry tab and I have a T account tab. Okay, journal entry tab, T account tab. And I want the information on my journal entry tab to be linked to my T accounts, right? So if I do that, then any change I make here in my source or master table will flow all the way through to the journal entry and the T accounts. So we always are putting our cursor or we put the spot where we want the answer to be. So let's go here. And the first journal entry is a debit to cash and a credit to common stock, $30,000. So I'm going to go over here to my T accounts and I'm going to say debit to cash. So I go to the debit spot, first one, right? Equal. But my journal entry number is over on another tab. So I click on the journal entry and I click on the 30,000 cash. And now that number is linked. I'm going to do the same thing with common stock. Equal. I know it's a credit. Click on my journal entry tab. Go to the common stock number. Enter. Okay. We're going to do a couple of those and then I'll explain what's happening here with the totals. So the next journal entry is cash and short-term notes payable, $11,000. So again, it's another debit to cash, equal cash. I find my short-term notes payable. It's going to be a credit. I grab that. So one by one, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to pause, finish this up, and then we'll talk about the sums. Okay, so I finished posting all my journal entries. So all of the entries here are now linked in my T accounts. So let's look at a couple of things. One, some of my numbers have dollar signs and 2 decimal places. Some just have commas, no dollar signs. I've got a very inconsistent picture. Well, I would like all of them to have dollar signs. So in order to do that, we want to use the formatting option. So up here, you can see the word format, but you can also see there's some little quick drop downs here, right? You have more formats. You can increase or decrease your decimal. You can turn something to a percentage. This is a dollar sign. So if I want it to look like money, have the dollar sign in front of it and two decimal places, I want to format as currency. But I don't want to do it cell by cell. So I can highlight all of the cells that should have that formatting and then just hit the dollar sign. And then I'm going to go down here and do the same thing. All of these cells. And I'm going to format as currency. Now everything has a dollar sign and two decimal places. Now what's going on here with this total? Well, I've already embedded some formulas in here, but let's talk about this. So to get the total of cash, I want to add up the numbers that are in the debit column, and then I want to subtract the numbers that are in the credit column. So I'm going to write a formula to do that. There, you could do it simply mathematically. A formula starts with an equal sign, just like you're linking, and you could do equal, and you could do this plus this minus this minus this minus this and minus this. Okay? And you can see it's right here, right? It's telling me my formula. If I hit enter, I get 22,500, the same answer I got before. But I'm not sure how many numbers they're going to be. What happens if I put a number in this cell here? Well, it's not included in my formula right now. So I want to write a formula that's a little bit bigger, a little bit broader. So instead, I'm going to use the equal sum formula. So it has a functionality up here. You could go up into the functions here, drop down menu, and click sum. But I'm going to write my own because I want to do the sum formula twice. So I'm going to do an equal sign. Remember, it wakes things up. Says something's coming. I need you to function here. Then I type the word sum. And you can see it's starting to try to help me. Open a parenthesis. And I want to highlight, right? Grab all of the stuff on my debit side. Now down to, but not including where I'm putting this answer, close the parenthesis. I said it's the sum of the debits minus the sum of the credits. So now minus sum, open a parenthesis, grab and highlight all my credits, close parenthesis, enter. So now if I click on this cell and I go up here and look, it is the sum of my debits minus the sum of my credits. That is true for land, equipment, and supplies. But my liabilities and my equity are normal credits. So now I'm over here for this note, and I have to think backwards because the balance is the sum of the credits minus the sum of the debits. So I wrote the same formula, I just reversed my starting point. So equals sum, my credits, minus the sum of my debits. And you can see both for notes payable and for cash and the rest of them, I included cells that don't have numbers in right now. So if I was over here in cash and I just put a number right here, right? It's not there, it's not linked, and I put the number 100, my formula would update because I included all of these blank spots on the chance that I would need them in the future. Write it as broad as you can. So now you have your journal linked to your T accounts, and your T accounts are totaling. All right, so I'm going to do a little pause here, and then we'll build a trial balance.